Let me introduce you to my secret weapon of spring cooking, the frozen peas. As soon as the days get a little longer, we all like to imagine eating baby peas freshly plucked from the vines or asparagus just pulled out of the ground. But if you live in Boston, like I do, that's a fantasy. I'm sure that somewhere in the world, all sorts of lovely green things are coming out of the ground, in warm, happy places like California and Italy. But here, it's business as usual. The produce I have to work with is the same supermarket stuff that was available to me in January. That's when this green farro risotto comes to the rescue. It never fails to give me that spring vibe, even if my local produce is non-existent. Set a 3 to 4 quart pot over moderately low heat. Add a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, 2 diced leeks, and a pinch of salt. If you've never cooked with leeks before, let me just warn you that they can be very sandy, so you should rinse them between the layers to make sure they are clean. You can also replace the leeks with shallots or yellow onions or skip them entirely. Cover the pot and let the leeks cook until they start to turn translucent. Then open the pot and keep cooking them until they turn slightly golden. You don't need to stir them constantly, but don't neglect them either. Remove half of the leeks from the pot to use in the pea sauce. You'll have to use your imagination here and pretend that half of the leeks are still in the pot. I removed them because there is a certain kid in my family who is having an issue with leeks at the moment, and I didn't want to ruin his lunch. Don't worry, I won't let those leeks go to waste. I'll just add them on top of the risotto in the end. Add 1.5 cups of pearled farro. It's very important that the farro you use is pearled, in other words, polished. This kind of farro will have occasional light spots and will be many shades of beige. Whole farro will be evenly brown because it still has the bran attached, and it will be way too chewy for this dish. Be careful which farro you buy because it's not always labeled clearly. Add 3 cups of water and some salt. Stir, cover the pot, turn up the heat to high, and when the steam starts to escape from the lid, turn it down to low and let the farro cook for 30 minutes. Just a warning that some farro sold in the stores is quick cooking. If that's what you are using, follow directions on the package for the water amount and timing. If you're using regular pearled farro, it should take 30 to 40 minutes to cook, depending on how polished it is. While our farro is cooking, let's make the sauce and the topping. We'll need the zest from 1 lemon and a couple of teaspoons of lemon juice. Any frozen peas will work for this dish, but the ones labeled petite are usually the sweetest. Measure out roughly 1.5 cups of peas. Add enough liquid to just cover them. I like to use half water and half heavy cream. Put them in a microwave or cook in a pot until the peas defrost and warm up. But don't boil them. Put into a blender, add half of the leeks or shallots or onions that you've cooked, the lemon zest and juice, and a generous pinch of salt. And blend it all up, starting on low speed and gradually working up to high. Once you get to high, run the blender for a couple of minutes. I find that most home cooks stop blending stuff as soon as they can't see any pieces. But if you want a really smooth puree, you really need to give it a few minutes. Taste and add more salt and lemon juice as needed. For the topping, you can use whatever green vegetables you can get. Green beans, asparagus, bok choy. Mushrooms aren't green, but they work really well as a topping too. Hey, you can even use some warmed up frozen peas. Today I'm using asparagus because that's what looked good. Snap the woody ends and cut the asparagus into bite-sized pieces. I think diagonal looks pretty, but it's not like it tastes any better, so cut any which way you want. If you want a more delicate look, you can cut the tips in half. It's been 30 minutes, so let's check up on our farro. We still have a little water left, but it tastes almost done, so I'll just rely on the resting period to finish it. Add a little butter and the pea sauce. Bring the pot to a simmer, stirring constantly. I know it looks like a soup, but it will thicken. Once you get a simmer, take the pot off heat. Taste and add more salt, lemon juice, and butter as needed. I wanted more butter. There is a Russian expression that you can't ruin a porridge with butter. I couldn't agree more. But if you want to make this dish vegan, you can leave out all the dairy and use olive oil. Cover the pot and let it sit off heat for 10 minutes. During this time, the starch in the farro will thicken the sauce and the farro will get a little softer. While the farro is resting, let's cook the asparagus topping. Set a large skillet over high heat. Add a little olive oil and a little butter and wait for them to get hot. If you're using butter, it should just start to turn brown. If you're only using oil, wait for it to get very ripply. Add the asparagus. You want it to be close to a single layer, but not quite. Add some salt and cook without stirring until it gets golden brown. This will take 2 to 4 minutes, so be patient. Let's see how it's doing. Good. We got a little color, and make sure to check a couple of pieces. Let's give it a stir and then leave it alone again. After another minute, we picked up a bit more color and can give it another stir. Once all the asparagus turns bright green and has occasional brown spots, taste a piece. You don't want it to feel like hard sticks, but you don't want it to be mushy either. Take the pan off heat. Since I left the leeks out of my risotto, I'll add them to the asparagus. Give it a generous squirt of lemon and a sprinkle of salt. As always, don't forget to taste and adjust. If you can't serve immediately, get the asparagus out of the pan since the leftover heat can make it mushy and stringy. See how much our risotto thickened? I find with risotto it's always safer to go wetter, otherwise it stiffens up and doesn't taste creamy. Put the asparagus on top, plus any green things you have on hand. I have some tiny arugula, scallions, chives, and dill. A little drizzle of olive oil, and we're done. This is both spring-like and also hearty, so in case it's too early for short sleeves, this is just the dish. Here are more culinary tutorials for you to check out, and the link to my online classes is in the description below.